You know, folks, my feelings toward Ron MacLean have now gone from rage to utter pity. MacLean used to play the second banana role on the hugely popular Coach's Corner, a Hockey Night in Canada first period intermission fixture. It ran for decades. And then the beloved Don Cherry said this in regard to Remembrance Day and those who choose to, well, disrespect it.
You people love you that come here, whatever it is. You love our way of life. You love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that.
Oh, cue the outrage from the usual suspects who comprise the liberal progressive left. But the thing is, Don Cherry said absolutely nothing that was inaccurate. We even obtained video evidence at subsequent Remembrance Days. We wanted to do a poppy count, you see. The tally was appalling, and it made a mockery of the slogan, "Lest we forget." Easily more than 95% of passers-by were not wearing a poppy. Oh, well, of course, the loony left would no doubt call such reporting poppy shaming. Even so, the visuals, like Cherry himself, well, they don't lie. But that's the crux of the matter when it comes to the very definition of political correctness. If the truth hurts, you dare not speak it. Rather, you embrace self-censorship. In the days after Poppygate, Cherry was shockingly fired. Actually, the termination took place on Remembrance Day. That's oh so fitting, really, given that millions and millions of Cherry fans will never forget. Whether or not you're a Don Cherry fan, by the way, or even a hockey fan, well, that's beside the point. The axing of Don Cherry was truly a benchmark moment vis-a-vis Canadian cancel culture. Coach's Corner, after all, was the most popular 8 minutes of TV on Canadian television week after week after week. Isn't that the name of the game in broadcasting? You know, to harness eyeballs. And Don Cherry was number one in that department every Saturday night. But the woke wimps responsible for Hockey Night in Canada, well, they were perfectly okay in jettisoning Cherry for the crime of wrong speak. And if the woke mob can do that to a superstar like Don Cherry, well then, just imagine what they can do to you.
Everybody should wear a poppy. Beautiful guys that we see 27 years old, 25, sometimes 18 years old, died for our way of life. Everybody should wear a poppy, and that's what I meant.
And going back some 5 years ago, where in blue hell was Ron MacLean on this file? He was AWOL, even though Cherry in the past had gone to bat twice for MacLean when Ron's job was on the line. Well, MacLean, he just put his head down, kept his mouth shut, continued to collect his paycheck, and did nothing to help his old friend. Actually, I stand corrected. Ron did not do nothing. Nothing would be an upgrade. Rather, Ron MacLean gleefully joined the mob. He called Cherry's remarks hurtful and discriminatory. Even though, folks, if you watched that infamous episode of Coach's Corner, MacLean was nodding in agreement as Cherry said his piece. In January 2020, by the way, we tried to interview MacLean about this event at something called Rogers Hometown Hockey, which was taking place in Vaughan, Ontario. Honestly, I don't know if MacLean sicked the York Regional Police on me or if those constables were acting independently, but they actually violently prevented me from practicing journalism on a public sidewalk. Here, check it out.
Hey Ron, how you doing?
Great, how are you doing?
Good, sir. I'm just wondering, how do you feel about the ratings for Hockey Night in Canada plummeting? Excuse me.
No, sir.
Yeah, my wife.
No, sir.
Since Don Cherry was fired.
I wouldn't know, sir. Yeah.
Huh? Excuse me.
Sir,
I'm in a public place.
No, those questions, sir.
Ron, why did you throw Ron under the bus? Excuse me. I'm in a public place. What are you?
Leave Ron alone. No, you're
Sis- Hey,
do not hit
what are
me.
you doing?
You just hit me.
I didn't
You just
you.
hit me.
I'm trying to get around you. You're holding me back.
Hey, are we gonna take it down, Matt, or what?
I'm trying to do my job.
No, you're not trying to do your job. You're trying
I'm
to
in a
interfere with-
public place,
Yes,
officer.
you're not allowed to hit me like
I
that.
didn't hit you. I got it on camera. Okay?
Perfect.
Are you guys
It's
kidding
called
me?
criminal harassment.
This
That's
is
what it
assault.
It's called criminal harassment. Is what you're doing. So
I'm practicing
cautioning you to
journalism.
stop. This is not journalism. Do you have a journalism pass to be here?
Huh? Yes, I do. I have press credentials.
No, you don't. See, that's a lie.
Wow, yet more horrible and illegal policing. Then again, maybe these cops were auditioning for a gig with Trudeau's RCMP security detail. Who knows? I'll tell you one thing, though. In the months ahead, the truth will come out in court because we're suing the York Regional Police over that egregious incident. You know, we do back the blue, folks, but there are some cops out there who really do disgrace the law enforcement profession. In any event, Hockey Night in Canada has never been the same. The few times I tuned in post-Don Cherry, not a broadcast aired without some woke sermon being shoved down viewers' throats. The segments were sanctimonious and condescending. Even worse, the vignettes were brutally boring. That is the cardinal sin in broadcasting, by the way. Now, I don't know what kind of rancid woke tripe is airing on Hockey Night in Canada these days. I stopped tuning in years ago. I suspect so many other viewers also have better things to do on a Saturday night. And get this, it has recently been reported that Rogers is suffering from buyer's remorse big time from that massive contract it signed with the NHL, given the lackluster return on investment. Rogers shocked the hockey world back in November 2013 when the telecom titan signed a 12-year, $5.2 billion rights deal with the NHL. The contract kicked in the following season and is set now to run until 2026. But sources have called the deal money hemorrhaging, and if Rogers could get out of that NHL deal, they would do so in a heartbeat. Simply put, Rogers vastly overpaid for those NHL rights, and programs like Hockey Night in Canada, well, they've underdelivered. Now, I'm no sports broadcasting expert here, but it would seem to me that if a TV show is all about, ratings, then the higher the ratings, the more the broadcaster can charge for advertisements. So then, why in the world would you axe your number one ratings generator, in this case, Mr. Don Cherry? Good golly, maybe there is something to that old chestnut, go woke, go broke. Now, Rogers, they won't be going broke anytime soon. They'll just cover their losses by marking up your cell phone and cable bills. MacLean, in the meantime, has reinvented himself as some sort of civil rights crusader. Nothing wrong with that, except that his cause du jour lately has been advocating for more pride nights at NHL games and for players to use rainbow-hued tape on their sticks. Check out this ludicrous essay he penned last October, just a week, by the way, after Israel endured that massacre carried out by Hamas terrorists. Not that this was on MacLean's social justice radar, by the way. Rather, MacLean was on a rampage vis-a-vis denouncing the NHL's pride tape ban, which has since been rescinded, of course. Astonishingly, MacLean actually compared the NHL ban on rainbow-hued hockey tape to the suffragette movement of the 1860s. No, I'm not making this up. Check out this pithy prose. Quote, "The leaders ought to hear what the 2S LGBTQ plus and allies are saying. In our deepest reflexes and emotions, we feel we are being pushed away by a rule we cannot obey," end quote. In any event, a photo just recently emerged depicting Ron and Don at Casa Cherry sitting together with thumbs up. That's interesting. But as the saying goes, appearances can be deceiving. The backstory was this. Don's son, Tim, arranged for Ron to drop by Don's 90th birthday party to drop off a birthday card. At some point, Ron asked if he could take a photo of him and Don together. It was, after all, the first time they occupied the same piece of real estate in almost half a decade, and permission was granted. But the Cherry family thought this pic was only for MacLean's personal use. They were shocked to discover that MacLean went on to post the image on social media. And they were doubly shocked by the accompanying copy. Quote, "Us, when grapes hit a milestone and I was chasing one, so recently, Canadians, us, like us, forever." End quote. Now, some media outlets fell for this delusional bullshit, hook, line, and stinker. You know, this idea that Ron and Don had buried the hatchet and were once again buddy-buddy. But nothing could be further from the truth. Our friend at the Toronto Sun, the superb Joe Warmington, recently delivered the real story. Basically, this pic being posted on social media was all about some gross rebranding effort on the behalf of MacLean. As such, it's a rebranding effort that ranks right up there with the new Coke fiasco circa 1985. Indeed, the headline on Warmington's column was, quote, "Ron MacLean deserves game misconduct for misleading Don Cherry post," end quote. Indeed, Cherry has remarked that when it comes to him and Ron, they can never be friends again. Indeed, with friends like Ron MacLean, who needs enemies? In fact, this misleading posting by MacLean would appear to be the second time Cherry's former sidekick has backstabbed Don. And at this point, MacLean's juvenile behavior, it's getting downright rather pathetic. Sure, Ron MacLean, he's that proverbial nice guy. I don't dispute that. But when Ron MacLean himself threw the star of Coach's Corner under the bus back in 2019, well, MacLean mortgaged his reputation in exchange for a nice paying gig. He could have done the right thing morally, but doing the right thing might have resulted in Ron enduring career repercussions via his woefully woke puppet masters. So, to quote Emily Latilla,
"Never mind."
In the final analysis, Don Cherry's nickname is Grapes. When Don is gone, the vast majority of Canadians will still speak of him in glowing terms. Don Cherry is an oh-so-rarefied commodity. He says what he means and he means what he says. He's sincere, he's genuine, and most importantly of all, when it comes to the TV business, he is enormously entertaining. But when Ron MacLean shrugs off his mortal coil, he will exist as a footnote to a footnote. Aside from his immediate family members, who will mourn him? I honestly don't know if MacLean has a nickname, but as a free service to Ron MacLean, allow me to suggest a few. Weasel, Rat, Judas, Backstabber, Traitor, Two-Face, Canada's worst friend ever. And the list goes on and on. Hey, Ron, feel free to choose any of those aforementioned nicknames. It is, after all, called truth in advertising.
Do you not want to hear the other side of the story?